And it looked like the Indiana Fever front office is in serious trouble for revealing some major information. Guys, how come I'm not seeing no scouts, bro? Where the scouting department? Do they even have a scouting department? You mean to tell me, as I look through this thing right here, y'all done made all the well, y'all done made, hold on, you lied to me.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most heated conversations in women's basketball. Right now, the Indiana Fever, their ownership, and the growing outrage among fans who believe the franchise has failed to build the right roster around Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. The Fever's owner is under heavy fire, and for good reason. With the talent that's been available, with the hype that's surrounded this team, and with the opportunity to transform the franchise into a legitimate powerhouse, critics argue that Indiana has fumbled the bag in a way that could have long-term consequences. So in today's video, we're breaking it all down. The history of the Fever's struggles, the questionable signings, the talent they let slip away, the pressure of building around Caitlin Clark, and why fans believe the owner is making all the wrong moves. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see why the Fever could be wasting one of the biggest opportunities in WNBA history, the Fever's legacy of struggles. To understand why fans are so upset, you first have to look back at the Indiana Fever's recent history. This is a franchise that hasn't exactly been known for dominance in recent years. After Tamika Catchings retired, the Fever fell into years of mediocrity, failing to rebuild effectively. Between 2017 and 2022, the team was consistently at the bottom of the league standings, missing the playoffs year after year. Fans watched draft picks come and go, coaching changes happen, and ownership seemingly failed to deliver a clear vision for success. The result? A fan base that was already frustrated, tired, and skeptical. Then came Aliyah Boston in 2023. She brought hope. She was dominant, talented, and immediately gave fans something to believe in. Boston won Rookie of the Year and proved she could be the foundation of a championship-caliber team. And then, in 2024, the Fever hit the jackpot again by drafting Caitlin Clark, the most hyped women's basketball player in decades. With Clark's arrival, the Fever had two cornerstones. This should have been the turning point, the moment, when the franchise finally rebuilt itself into something special. But here's where ownership comes in. Instead of surrounding Clark and Boston with the right pieces, critics argue that the Fever's front office and owner have failed them. The Caitlin Clark effect. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark for a second, because she's central to this entire conversation. Clark is more than just a great player. She's a phenomenon. She's boosted WNBA ratings, ticket sales, and merchandise like never before. Every Fever game is suddenly a must-watch event. Every arena she plays in is packed. She has essentially carried the WNBA into a new era of visibility. So with a player like this, the responsibility on the front office and ownership is enormous. You don't just treat Clark like any other rookie. You build the entire franchise around her. You maximize her talent. You find shooters, defenders, veterans who can mentor her. And you build a roster designed to compete right away. But fans are looking at the Fever's roster and asking, where's the support? Instead of making bold moves in free agency or bringing in proven winners, the Fever's management has been criticized for playing it safe. They've passed on opportunities, missed chances to sign big names, and failed to construct a roster worthy of Clark's talent. And that failure isn't just hurting the Fever on the court. It's hurting the entire league, because Clark is the biggest draw the WNBA has. The wrong signings. Now let's get specific, because this is where the fire really starts. The Fever's signings and roster decisions have been questionable at best. Fans argue that instead of targeting players who complement Clark's style, sharpshooters, defensive stoppers, veteran leaders, the team has signed players who don't fit the vision. While some role players have shown flashes, there's been no major free agent splash. Meanwhile, other teams around the league have stacked their rosters with stars. Look at the New York Liberty, for example. They built a super team by going out and getting Breanna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, and Courtney Vandersloot. They weren't afraid to spend, to take risks, to go big. The Fever? They've hesitated. And in the WNBA, hesitation kills. Fans also point out that some of the Fever's draft choices and signings feel like missed opportunities. Imagine what Clark in Boston could do with an elite three-point shooter on the wing, or with a veteran guard who could help manage the floor. Instead, ownership seems content with piecing together a roster that looks good on paper but fails in execution. Pressure from the fans. And let's be real, Fever fans are not staying quiet about this. Social media is full of angry posts calling out the front office and ownership. You see tweets, Instagram posts, TikToks, and YouTube breakdowns where fans are begging the Fever to stop wasting Caitlin Clark's prime before it even starts. People are comparing this to what happened with other franchises that drafted superstars but failed to build around them, and how those stars eventually left. That's the nightmare scenario here. Imagine if Caitlin Clark eventually looks around, realizes she can't win in Indiana, and decides to leave for another team when the time comes. The Fever would lose not just a star but the face of the WNBA, and ownership would be remembered forever as the ones who blew the greatest opportunity the league ever handed them. The business side. Here's another layer to this conversation. That makes it even worse, the business side of things. Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player, she's a brand. She's filling arenas, driving merchandise sales, and bringing in new fans. She's essentially printing money for the Fever and the WNBA. From a business perspective, the smart move is obvious. Invest in building a championship-caliber team around her. Because if you win with Clark, you don't just dominate the league, you dominate the market. But ownership hasn't done that. And so now, critics are asking the question, is the Fever's owner prioritizing money over winning? Because think about it. The Fever are selling out games, selling merchandise, and drawing national TV attention whether they win or lose. So maybe ownership feels no urgency to invest heavily in building a contender. If that's the case, it's a dangerous game. Because fans may be excited now. But if the Fever keep losing, the hype won't last forever. The missed opportunities. This is where things get painful for Fever fans. Let's look at some of the players Indiana could have gone after. Players who would have been perfect fits alongside Clark in Boston. Elite shooters who could space the floor. Veteran guards who could take pressure off Clark as the primary ball handler. Defensive stoppers who could protect Boston in the paint. Instead, Indiana's roster has felt incomplete. Ownership and management have failed to pull the trigger on the kind of moves that transform a team from good to great. And when fans watch other franchises build super teams, they can't help but feel like Indiana is missing the boat. The locker room concerns. Another criticism being thrown at the Fever is their lack of veteran leadership. Rookies like Clark and Boston are phenomenal talents, but young players need experienced veterans to guide them through the ups and downs of professional basketball. They need mentors who've been there, who know what it takes to win, and who can help keep a locker room stable during tough times. The Fever's owner and front office haven't prioritized this. Instead of signing proven veterans, they've leaned heavily on youth and unproven talent. And while that might work in the long run, it leaves the team vulnerable in the short term, especially when expectations are already sky high. Without that leadership, the Fever risk burning out their stars or creating frustration that could push players away. Media backlash. It's not just fans who are talking about this. The media has started calling out the Fever's ownership too. Sports analysts have questioned why the Fever haven't been more aggressive. Commentators on ESPN, podcasts, and sports blogs are openly saying that Indiana is wasting Caitlin Clark. Headlines are piling up and every loss makes the criticism louder. And here's the thing about media pressure. It doesn't just fade away. Once the narrative is set, it sticks. And right now, the narrative around the Fever's owner is clear. You're failing your franchise player. The future of Caitlin Clark in Indiana. This is where the stakes get even higher. If the Fever don't figure this out, Caitlin Clark's future in Indiana could be at risk. Yes, she's under contract now, but superstars always find ways to control their destinies. If Clark eventually feels like she can't win with the Fever, the pressure to leave will only grow. And if Indiana loses her, that's not just a blow to the team, it's a blow to the league. The WNBA is banking on Clark to take the sport to new heights. Losing her to a poorly managed franchise would be devastating. That's why the responsibility on the Fever's ownership is bigger than just winning games. They're carrying the weight of the league's future. What needs to change? So what's the solution? What do the Fever and their ownership need to do to fix this? Aggressive free agency moves, stop playing it safe. Go after big names. Surround Clark and Boston with proven talent. Veteran leadership. Sign veterans who can guide this young core and stabilize the locker room. Better fit players. Focus on players who complement Clark's game. Shooters, defenders, and playmakers. Commitment to winning. Ownership needs to show fans that winning is the priority, not just selling tickets. If they do these things, the Fever could still turn it around. They have the foundation. They have the stars. They just need the right supporting cast. At the end of the day, the Indiana Fever have been handed a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They have Caitlin Clark. They have Aliyah Boston. They have a fan base that's more energized than it's been in years. But opportunity means nothing if you don't take advantage of it. And right now, fans believe the Fever's owner isn't doing enough. If things don't change soon, the Fever risk wasting Clark's prime, alienating their fans, and losing the trust of the entire WNBA community. The clock is ticking. And the question is, will Indiana's ownership wake up before it's too late? So what do you think? Is the Fever's owner really to blame for the team's struggles? Should they be more aggressive in free agency? And how long will Caitlin Clark stay patient with this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.